Alone in the Dark is a unique series. It is a classic given the fact without it, games such as Resident Evil, they wouldn't exist. But since the original, the quality's been questionable at best, and it even received a terrible movie adaptation from the notorious Yui Ball starring Christian Slater. Now though, this 2024 release, is this the turning point the series deserves? Well, that's what we are here to find out. My name's Alex, this is XP Corner, and if you enjoy this video, subscribe, it helps out the channel a huge amount. So before we do get into this, if you want to see a full playthrough that is live right now over on Game Corner, our new channel dedicated to raw gameplay with commentary, and in this case we broke it down chapter by chapter, we even dropped a full video too. You can find that in the pinned comments. Alright, so the story, and first it is worth noting this is a remake of the original entry for the series, though it has been expanded out, and in this one we are following Emily Hartwood alongside a private investigator named Edward, and we are travelling to a manor to uncover what has occurred with our uncle named Jeremy. It's quickly revealed basically he is missing, and it appears there's some dark and mysterious forces at play. I enjoyed the story. Emily and Edward are great characters, and the concept is we are basically transported to mysterious locations through interactions with this manor, so you never know quite what to expect. Additionally, when opening the game, we can choose between Edward and Emily, so the cutscenes are going to be different, and it even features multiple endings. Unlike the more recent entries in Resident Evil that switched up the formula to first person, Alone in the Dark is very much a tribute to classic survival horror. It is third person over the shoulder action, albeit with modernized controls replacing those classic tank controls. I would describe the core gameplay here as exploration, puzzle solving, and combat. The exploration first up I loved, and that's largely thanks to the location. It is a maze of a world that surprises constantly thanks to the aforementioned shifts to different areas. It's also somewhat old school in the sense it doesn't hold your hand constantly, and often you'll need to figure out where to go next thanks to a handy map that is available in your inventory. This all said, it is worth noting the game packs a couple of difficulty options, one being combat, the other being a traditional setup, meaning no real guidance, so get lost and figure it out for yourself, but then there is a preset modern setup, and that gives you additional hints in the sense of where you should be going next. That's the preset, as I said, that is how I spent my time with the game, but I strongly suggest to genre fans consider starting with the classic difficulty and switching if necessary. But yeah, the exploration, a lot of fun. The mansion is sizable, locations frequently change things up, though they are often linear sections to progress through, and there's more than a few items to uncover. Expect to hear clues that will push you forward, collectibles, weapons to find, and a slew of notes which further build upon the world, and they often help you out in your progression. These are basically texts you can refer to at any time as you please. The quests within Alone in the Dark though typically involve finding items before solving puzzles, and these puzzles they ramp nicely in difficulty. Now there's a decent amount of variety, but two that frequently repeat are those that ask you to rearrange broken pieces into a shape, and then a setup that revolves around uncovering numbers or clues to then reference a star sign chart. Now, I don't want to give anything away today, but they stumped me a couple of times without ever feeling unfair. It also does a really good job, this game, of instilling a sense of panic, a situation that is getting worse, or a race against a clock, even though it's not actually the case. Where Alone in the Dark, however, stumbles, it's really two core areas, and then there's a few minor ones too we'll get to, but first up the combat. It's not exciting, and it feels clunky at best. Movement feels restricted, and it's incredibly easy to find yourself trapped in a corner or caught on an item in the environment. These enemies then as well that you are facing are mostly repetitive in design, and they often dash at you without warning. Sure, you can sneak around this world, but the system doesn't feel fleshed out enough. There's no way to cling to walls, for example. There's also a dodge mechanic that does work, but I didn't discover this till I was a good way into the experience, as I didn't actually note a tip from the game directly. Honestly as well, the list goes on for combat. Enemies are bullet sponges no matter the weapon you do leverage. If you do find a melee weapon, it seems to be designed to be you'll basically break it after taking down just a single enemy. Now should you run out of bullets and not have a weapon to hand, there's no kind of hand-to-hand combat, no punching, no kicking, which really would make sense, let's face it. Alongside this, I had a situation where I got trapped in the environment, I had to reload my last save, and I also had a bug where I couldn't use my melee weapon or pick up another one. So once again, this led to me reloading a prior save, and look, fortunately the game saves frequently, but it's still frustrating as these action moments are often during puzzles, so loading in again can get a little awkward trying to figure out what progress you've actually made in this file. The final negative then, the game's simply not scary. Got me early on with a single jump scare, but after that, just nothing, and I scare extremely easily. You know, the Dark Man, the creature that stalks our friend, definitely unique, but not once was I worried or nervous to enter a location. Most of the time, in fact, enemies are let down by the fact the environment shift occurs before their appearance. It gives you a warning that something bad is coming. Then as well, because the game also features the stealth options, largely enemies are actually visible stumbling around in the distance, and yeah, that doesn't quite feel right. You want to be surprised, not be able to, see them a few feet away. So overall for gameplay, really like the world, the environments, the transitions to unique locations, and I really enjoyed the puzzles too, but the combat is lackluster, and the scares, I kept waiting for them, but they never happened, and once again, I'm someone that scares easily, so I can't imagine for the hardened that this one's really gonna push them. Visually then, I think it's decent, honestly. You will find a performance mode and a quality mode. What you are seeing today is performance, and I think while it's not going to blow you away, it definitely has its moments with some really unique scenery and encounters. The enemies do quickly get repetitive, but I definitely enjoyed the creepy movement attached to them, and I was also particularly impressed with the shifts as we transitioned into almost this, I guess, nightmare realm. Now, unfortunately, there's a few quirks as well. However, these transitions are often easy to spot with some minor visual glitches, such as brief flashes. I also did notice a couple of frame rate drops with a few of the combat encounters, and I also think our lead's movement, while some is good, other movements such as the dodge just look strange, like he's drunk simply stumbling away. Also then a few of the special effects such as fire, it looks flat and they can't quite capture the intensity that these scenarios should be presenting. Finally, let's finish on a positive. The cutscenes are frequent, really enjoyed them. They do a good job of pushing the story forward, and there's definitely a focus here on character development, and in my opinion that is by far the game's strongest area. Audio is last up and it's solid. There was a few moments where music cut, let's say unexpectedly, but I thought it was a really strong score that balances the tension of the narrative well. Sound effects then are also mostly strong, though they definitely could have reinforced the scares more. Finally, the voice acting, top quality, thanks to the involvement of Jodie Comer and David Harbour, which definitely doesn't disappoint. So the final verdict, and well, as you've heard, I really did enjoy many elements of this one, but the lack of scares and the clunky combat definitely disappointed me. There's just too many times during the action where I felt like I was battling the game directly, such as being stuck in a corner or on the environment. These complaints out the way, however, the story, the exploration, the puzzles still did carry it for me, and I would say here, like long-term Alone in the Dark fans and genre fans, I still think you're going to get a kick out of this one. Everyone else, perhaps wait on a sale. Now today for me, it's an above average, a 6 out of 10, and in my opinion, it is a step in the right direction for the series. Now what I'd love to see them do is take what they have here, because there is a lot of good, and focus on cleaning up those rough edges. So will you be checking out Alone in the Dark? Let us know in the comments. With that, hit subscribe for PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam reviews, deals, and news weekly. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone.